everybody. Welcome to another edition of What's What BR. Today we have a special guest again. We've got Gary Littlefield back, who's the market president over at Gulf Coast Bank and Trust Company. How you doing, Gary?
You're doing great, Brandon. Thanks for having me back on.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you came. I'm going to take a second here. We also got, Bennett Blackledge, here's the community outreach coordinator. We're going to see Bennett kind of moving around, in the background. He's got some things, going to be showing us some of the auction items, that you've got. We're going to talk a little bit about, for anybody who maybe missed the first show, about what it is, because I just think this is a big deal. And a lot of people, I've been talking about it since our first show, and a huge amount of people have known about it, but there's also been a lot of people that didn't know about it. And this has been going on for 13 years,
That's correct.
So give us the your short version of auctions in August.
Again, thank you for having me back on, Brandon. It's very important to get out because now more than ever, these nonprofits need our help. So as we talked about in the first segment, we talked about all the different things that are up for auction. You've got fine dining, you've got jewelry, you got sports memorabilia, you got gift baskets, artwork, vacation stays. Bennett's actually going to walk around as we're talking, and hopefully that'll come up on the screen so everyone can see it. But this is our 13th year. We've raised over $1 million for around 355 nonprofits throughout our footprint and outside of our footprint. To kind of educate everybody on what the bank does and how we operate. We're 30 years old this year. We started in 1990 with Guy Williams, our president and CEO, and Guy Williams is a big believer in the nonprofit community being strong, which makes our bank strong as a community bank. So we're very much involved with giving back to those communities. So here's the key point, and this is a point I think all your listeners will appreciate, Brandon, is 100% of the money raised through this auctionsinAugust.com website goes back to that nonprofit. Okay, we're the vehicle. We have a lot of these auction items online. There's some in our branches that Bennett's showing right now. So we're excited about it. We get all the employees engaged in this process. Bennett's been on the phone since June talking with different nonprofits that have done this for a couple of years, some that are brand new to the process. We've done some radio outreach. We got a couple billboards thrown up throughout our footprint. But the main thing is talking to people and letting them know if you've got a favorite nonprofit and you want to contribute. A lot of the nonprofits don't even know that one of their supporters has put an item to raise money for them. And the fun part is that person, if they win the bid, they come in on August 31st or the day after, they write a check to that nonprofit. They pick the item up, they take it with them, and we deliver the checks to that nonprofit. So it's fun to walk into that executive director's office early September and say, hey, here's 14 checks for your nonprofit through our auctionsinAugust.com campaign or drive. So again, a great way to do it, and we feel very good about it. It works both ways in regards to publicity. That nonprofit gets the exposure, if you will. Some people haven't heard about certain nonprofits, so it gives us an opportunity to show and highlight those, and we'll talk about some of those as we go through the program, Brandon. But there's some really cool ones, and I'll kind of start out by letting you know about one that just showed up yesterday, which I'm really excited about. And I want to pull it out of my catalog. And I think you and I were talking about it before we got online. This is really cool for those of you who saw the Netflix series called The Pharmacist. This is a great opportunity to have dinner with both the pharmacist and his wife Annie, and it is going to be an absolutely a great opportunity at Bosco's, dinner for two bottles of wine along with the pharmacist t-shirt. The value of that is around $300. We think it's going to go much higher than that. Again, these are the kind of unique things that sometimes people put into auctions in August that otherwise wouldn't come up. So that's a really unique one right there. The other one that just arrived, I believe yesterday, because I've been dealing with Sheila Englert, who's our marketing director. Let me pull up just a second. I've got my notes right here, and that was a signed LSU championship football. 2019 LSU signed football by Joe Burrow.
I think we're
Okay.
looking at it right now.
Yeah.
Bennett's got us,
Oh, thank you,
on
Bennett.
there. That's
And this is to benefit the Miracle League at Cypress Mounds. So again, we've got a lot of folks out there. This one actually was worked through with our team at Guarantee Media, who we've been partnered with for a long time on auctions in August. They were able to procure the signed football, bring it to us, and again, this is going to benefit a lot of children who involved with the Miracle League at Cypress Mounds, and anybody who wants to Google and find out more about that nonprofit, it's a heartwarming experience to see what happens out there with a lot of these handicapped children. So we're proud to be a part of that. I think that one's going to go for a lot of money myself. And next to that, I don't know if you could see it, Brandon, or not, but next to that's a Joe Burrow jersey that is signed by Coach O. Again, get both of them.
Yeah, I'm going to pick that up at the store down, at the
you
Purple and
cannot
Gold
get either
store.
one of these at the store. That's right.
So you guys, that's, just kind of jumping back, kind of recap, there is hundreds of items, that you guys have.
Right at 1,100 items. Yep.
1,100 items. Okay.
Yes,
so
sir.
now we can say we now are into the thousands officially. So this is, if you're looking for, condo getaway, if you're looking, I was reading through some stuff, there's stuff in Florida, Mississippi, Costa Rica, New Orleans, it's all over the place. You still, got the ability to do that. If you're looking, from some advertising, everybody's trying to, tell their story. I saw that you had some things, out front and put some, billboard space, out there for, 3 months to, that's a campaign, that
Absolutely.
you can launch at that point. And not only, would you have spent that money already, but you can also help a nonprofit along the way.
There you go.
So,
that's the key, Brandon, no doubt.
I think it's, important, and I'm just going to beat the horse, so that everybody really gets it. I think it's a big deal what you guys are doing, to where a lot of people will, run these or will facilitate this stuff. You guys are carrying the burden of the cost, for this,
Sure.
The platform, the website, the staff, the people, the promotion, everything's being done. And like you said, 100% of it's going over, to them. If I go, if I'm lucky enough to get the football, signed, I'm bringing and writing the check. And that's what I think a lot of people, I'm just beating it up a little bit, because I think it's, incredible the way you're doing it. There's not even, for people that are in the banking business, there's not even a spread where it's like, okay, we're going to hold this for a little bit and then we're going to pass it. This is just write the check and then gets, delivered. So it's, when people say, a lot of people say, well, 100% of the profits, or I like how a lot of people now kind of mask it, 100% of the proceeds, this truly is whatever that auction item goes for. The check's written and you guys are, driving down the street saying, here's your check. We just facilitated the transaction for you.
That's right. And like I said at the very beginning, Brandon, this year, more than any other year I can remember, and maybe we talked about this when we were together last month, but there are so many nonprofits that raise money January through mid-May, whether it's golf tournaments, live auctions, silent auctions, dinners, functions, all that was shut down, pretty much shut down. So now's an opportunity for everybody to step up. And jokingly, I tell people, since you haven't been able to go out to dinner, use this opportunity to take some of that money and use it to help those nonprofits who weren't able to raise money. And they may not be able to between now and the end of the year. So a lot of them are hurting right now. So this is a great opportunity. And you learn more about the nonprofit when you can Google anything nowadays and just go in there and look at a Door of Hope, for instance, and see what's behind that. We've got a lot of items. Bennett's probably cataloging some of them behind us right now from Door of Hope. But anyway, it's a good opportunity.
Well, and I think, to really, get into it, these nonprofits, it's hard right now, for them to fundraise, because,
Absolutely.
Let's face it, a lot of people, like to support the nonprofits. They're incredibly, valuable in our community. But at the same time, they want to support them in a way where it's the, it's the gala, it's the, go out and do something. Sure. It's, you still have people that are wanting to write that check directly, but not as many, and so
but you
it's
receive
important.
Something in return for that, which you normally, if you're maybe just given $250 to go to a dinner, you get a nice dinner, but that's about it. You're not walking out with anything. You're walking out with a very nice item. And if you would allow me, Brandon, I'm going to run through a couple things, not to highlight
Absolutely.
any specific nonprofit, but I think it's good to know how much we've got out there. And Bennett, continue doing what you're doing, because I think a lot of people are getting a bird's eye view of what we've got out here. But um, one of the things that I thought was kind of neat was a children's handcrafted picnic table that's going to go to the benefits will go to the New Orleans Education League of the construction industry. And again, a lot of these items, the unique part is, the value of this is about $150. It's a wonderful looking table. It's about 20 inches tall and about 42 inches long, just perfect to put outdoors for your kids. And the minimum bid right now is only $20.
Yeah, that's what I
So
was just about to say. I saw it was $20. It's
yeah, so
and this
that
is
it's going to get bid up past that, obviously, and then there's another one, Astro Camp, and I'm reading this so I make sure I get it right. It's a registration for one camper, ages 2 to 4. It's Astro Camp is hosted by the Children's Museum of St. Tammany. Pretty neat deal. I'm not sure what's going on if they're able to do that this year, but certainly next year. So that's going to benefit the Children's Museum of St. Tammany. Let me flip around and grab a couple other ones real quick, and then we'll get back into some things. Here's another unique one. This is one that Bennett and I worked on together, and Baton Rouge Symphony Orchestra is near and dear to my heart. For many years, Debbie and I were members. We haven't been for quite a while. We need to get back into that because we love the performances. But this is an hour-long performance by the string quartet for BRSO, to benefit the Baton Rouge Symphony Orchestra. And, that's an auction item that's probably valued at around $2,500, and the minimum bid to start is about $1,000. So that's a pretty unique opportunity for somebody to go and enjoy music.
to talk about that, and I don't know, I was reading the notes for everybody. That's it's a minimum, it's $1,000 starting bid, but
Right.
this is, an hour long of the string quartet, but they're coming to you. You're not going there.
That's right.
This is, they can come to your house. If you were working, some deals and trying to impress some people, this would be a neat way to do it. To
Yeah.
be able to say, hey, we're going to have some entertainment come in, and maybe it's this fall when it cools off a little bit, sit out by
Right.
the pool and, just, have some wine and just kind of enjoy it. So
Well, it
not
might
many
be
people can say they did that.
Yeah, it might be a perfect opportunity, Brandon, as people start to come back into the office space, and maybe there's an opportunity to welcome everybody back, if you will, from a wholesale standpoint. It may not happen till the spring, but that's
Mm-hmm.
okay. You got it teed up. You got an event you can put on your calendar. And I'll just read off a couple of other nonprofits we work with here. I mentioned Miracle League at Cypress Mounds, a wonderful, wonderful nonprofit. Dreams Come True, Louisiana. I think we spoke about that last time, and that's something I've been involved with along with Dana Clegg, who's our branch manager at our Perkins Road office. That's very near and dear to our heart. And these are working with children, and it is what it is. It says dreams come true, and these are for children that are at risk, children who have diagnosis of a possible life-threatening illness. And that's their dream. They want to go to Disney World. They want to travel to the Rio Grande, whatever that situation is. And this nonprofit helps raise money to make that dream come true. So that's a big one. Arts Council of Greater Baton Rouge, something, that encompasses a lot of different areas. They've been a very big supporter, and we've been a big supporter of them. Salvation Army of
Mm-hmm.
Greater Baton Rouge is
I
obviously
talked to
another
Major
one.
Don yesterday.
Yeah, and Adora Hope Women's Help Center, mentioned that one before, and Catholic of Point Capee. And again, a lot of these are because we have relationships with these nonprofits. A lot of them we don't, but we understand what their needs are. And I'll mention one other one that I think is one that I think will kind of touch on a lot of your folks from some standpoint, because maybe they haven't been impacted directly by this, but they may have somebody in their family that has, and I want to make sure I read it properly. But the Louisiana Pediatric Cardiology Foundation, it's a 501c3 that helps families in Louisiana help the ease of financial burden. You can imagine the financial burden, out-of-pocket expense, if you will, with any of these children that might be undergoing some life-saving surgeries. So the LPCF provides free heart screens in the network to detect cardiac abnormalities in high school athletes, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, which is a leading cause of sudden death in young athletes. Again, we've heard about this. It's not something that's on the radar all the time, but we read about athletes that have had some issue, and then all of a sudden, they're junior in high school and they collapse. So again, this is one near and dear to my heart because it's near and dear to Sheila's heart. Sheila's niece was born with hypoplastic left heart syndrome and has had multiple surgeries since her birth. So I wanted to highlight that one as one that we're definitely involved in, not just because it's in Baton Rouge, but because we've got a connection through the bank with something like that. So again, there's probably other people out there listening right now that's going to say, oh, I never thought about this, but when my parents were diagnosed with cancer, or my parent or uncle was diagnosed with cancer, Cancer Society came and helped me out with a bed, or came and helped me out with other things, and I haven't really been on their radar since. So this is another opportunity for people to say, hey, I want to give back.
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of people don't realize is that there's a lot of these nonprofits in our community that are helping, but they fill that niche. It's that smaller niche that may not be something you don't see the big billboards all over the place, because they're putting their funding into what their the mission is. So you may not know about it, but it's a chance to come out and get to know a little bit more, help some of these things. Because I was talking with someone the other day, it's without these nonprofits and what they're doing in the community looks a lot different, because these things can't be done, by, a for-profit, company. There's just not enough, to be done, or there's plenty to be done, but there's not enough for them to be able to do all of it if it was a for-profit.
And Brandon, I wanted Bennett to jump on real quick. Ben, if you can flip your computer screen around and talk a little bit about what you do as our community outreach coordinator and some of the services that you provide, not only to the nonprofits, obviously, but to a lot of our different customers, and how that's worked out to benefit our bank and benefit our community. So I'm going to let you talk.
So Bennett, for anybody who missed it,
what we do is I go in churches and schools, and we work with prisoners, and we teach financial literacy to them. We have a prison program for those coming out. It's a 6 classroom, 2 hours, so it's a 12-hour program, but it basically reacclimates them so that they can get back into society, understanding loans and credits, and because they're going to be working. Normally, we're working with a number of businesses that are actually offering jobs to them. With the schools, we have education where we help anywhere from pre-K all the way through college, and it's all around financial literacy, credit and understanding budgeting. Right now, we've been going around churches and different places talking about financing in this pandemic. Some of the questions we get, how do I prioritize, what I pay every month? Because we're being furloughed and our income is less than it used to be. So we teach them things like that. We teach Medicare, we teach Social Security, we teach, so we have over 140 different seminars that we have that we can, normally around credit, just understanding credit, because credit is a big deal to folks. It's a cost of funds for you, and it's based on how you pay and what you do, and you can save a lot of money by managing your credit.
Bennett, talk specifically, that's a good segue, talk specifically about how many, and not specifically how many customers, because you've worked with thousands of them, but talk specifically about how you've helped people specifically with their credit score. And use your first-time home buyer example as a good one, because a lot of these, and I'm going to say mid-20s, haven't really paid attention to credit score. And then all of a sudden, hey, I'm ready to buy that first home. So start right there and talk through that process and how you've helped literally hundreds of people obtain that credit score to get that first home.
Sure. Well, what happened, couples will come in, and we sit down with a lot of them, and they haven't, their scores are, a lot of them, I'm working with a couple right now, the scores are in the low 500s. Well, they have to have 640 or higher to obtain a home. So, we're working with them to rebuild it. The good news is you can turn your credit around. It's something that you just work on, but you got to be disciplined. And so they should be able to get a loan within the next 60 days by just working with me and doing the things we talk through. But you want to manage, because that cost of money over a lifetime can be hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'll give you a perfect example. You have a $250,000 home. If you pay for it over the 30-year period of time, somebody with a C-rated, with a 640 score versus a 740 score, they're going to pay about $130,000 more in interest over that period of 30 years for that home. So you can see it's a big deal. A lot of these folks, they don't want to be in apartments. And, when they were younger, they just didn't, they wrote bad checks, or they did some things they shouldn't have done. And people just don't realize, it follows you. You don't get rid of it. So, but the good news is you can turn it around. You can get in your home. Right now is a most incredible time. It's 63-year low mortgage rates, 2.2% on 15-year and 2.6% on 30-year loans. That is just unheard of, and that's
Wow.
they've been in 63 years. So,
And Ben, that's something, to jump, kind of ahead of that, we're talking about kind of the, this younger group, and, now's the time, those kind of things, but also that younger group is built and grown up in an instant gratification, right? If anything takes more than 2 days to be delivered, if it's not from Prime, it just takes too long. If I can't order it now and go pick it up now. But what we're talking about, this credit score, this credit repair is not a now thing. This is, if you're wanting to buy that house, I consulted some friends that I knew and was explained to them, it's, don't go shop the house first. Go get the credit where you need to be, get the approval letter, because otherwise you're doing this thing all backwards. You're going to go get all hot and heavy about trying to buy this house, and then you're going to realize that it's going to take, some time to get maybe some things repaired, or something's going to happen. The seller's not going to want to sit and wait. They're looking to move a house.
Right.
You're going to get yourself worked up, and you can get frustrated.
Yeah,
So
that's a good point. I think one of the things Bennett has really done a good job with Brandon over the years is taking those that married couple, for instance, or a couple, and sitting down with them and doing a little bit of forensic analysis. And this is one I kind of go to every time when I'm talking to people. He took checking account statement for a couple months and went through it. They were spending, and Bennett, correct me if I'm wrong, they were spending on average around $800 eating out per month. Okay. Didn't think they could afford a house. Well, $800 a month is a significant amount of money to be eating out on. So Bennett got their discipline back where it needed to be. They only went out once a week versus 5 times a week. They were buying groceries and cooking and everything else. Next thing you know, they had their debt to income and disposable income to a level where they were able to buy their dream home. But they were just going to continue doing what they're doing because that's the way they'd always done it. But Bennett, and again, he doesn't do this counseling with just one person. It's got to be both of them in the room at the same time so they both hear the story. And that's one that kind of strikes me because it happened to be one of my friends, one of my married couples that were friends of mine that just really were struggling to figure out why they were not able to make ends meet. And there's probably a bunch of other examples, Bennett. But the other thing, Bennett, that I think is important is just insurance for your home and car, et cetera. The insurance companies look at that credit rating, and if you're at a 640 or below, your insurance rates are going to be a little bit higher premium than someone who has a 740 or 805. And that's just the nature of the beast. They're going to look at that and say, well, this is not a very disciplined person. There's a little bit more risk to this person. Mm-hmm. Same thing if you walk in to get an automobile financed or that home finance that Bennett just mentioned. So credit score is a very important driver. It has been since I've been in the banking business 39 years. It's gotten a lot more sophisticated with the algorithms. And I think that's one service that I'm very proud that Gulf Coast Bank and Trust offers through Bennett and through other people without our footprint. People that can sit down in a closed environment, very privately. And I don't want to say he's a counselor from that standpoint, but that's pretty much what he does. It's almost like marriage therapy sometimes.
Well, and it's good to, I'd advise everybody, it's good to have that relationship because you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know what's going to come down the road. It could
That's
be,
right.
I know I was in a situation one time where we found, a home that we found it by accident. It was one of those just driving down an old country road and looked over and was like, wait a minute, we wanted to go get it, but just, we were, my wife was pregnant and we had it was just everything going. And it was one of those situations where it's like, I just can't make this happen right now. I don't have enough runway to actually get it to work. And so,
Sure.
having somebody like Bennett that can, help you, but not only that, but get you on the right track, but then build that relationship to where, Bennett's able to kind of, talk inside the bank, go, hey, I've worked with, Joe for, a year now, and we meet, once every 3 or 4 months and we review everything. It's progressively getting better and they're on track. And this is our ideal customer. This is who we want. Let's help him, in his time of need. So,
Yeah, I had a buddy I played golf with for a long time, and he gone through a divorce and, had ruined his credit score as a result. And I got him in front of Bennett with, I guess, Bennett less than a year. You had him back where he needed to be, purchased another home, got his car financing worked out where it should have been in the first place, and he's happy as he can be. He brags about the bank all the time because no one else took the time to talk about credit score and talk about what the issues were and, why things had derailed for him. But that's just one example of many that we can put out there for people. So again, the confidentiality, the privacy that we hold very near and dear to our hearts as bankers. This never leaves anybody. We never talk about a specific situation. We get into a conference room and put the cards on the table. And it's amazing what comes out of it. So anyway, thank you for letting Bennett share that story, Brandon. It's very important.
No, and I think that's just, important to point out, that's the difference with a community bank, that's here. Everybody, this money isn't moving out, off, someplace else.
Right.
It's, it's you, it's Guy, it's, Bennett, it's people working in the community. You're shopping at the same grocery store,
That's
that
right.
these people are. We all, live in the same, space. So you want to help the community, and what, better way to do it than, invest in the people there, and help
Absolutely.
them, move their credit scores where they need to be, and the education. I think that's important. It's one thing to say, hey, we're going to help you get the credit score so we can get you the loan, but it's like a whole nother, like, look, you got to be fiscally responsible. We're going to teach you how to do these things if you don't know.
And we talked about this before, Brandon. We're very involved in both the public, private, and parochial schools. We get invited in. Bennett gets invited in a lot. And it could be as simple as second grade or third grade or fourth grade. The teacher comes and says, look, I know it's early, but can you explain the difference between stocks, bonds, and mutual funds? And we give them, we usually bring Patrick Talamo with us, who's our investment person, to kind of talk through that. We talk at their level, try to give them an idea of, how to start their savings account. And we've been very successful going into schools and opening up savings accounts for a lot of these folks. So it makes the kids proud to do that. And we're very happy to be their bank, and hopefully they'll continue to bank with us for many years to come.
Yeah, I think it's important teaching. I think, Bennett, were you saying? I think you went on.
Bennett, are you on mute? Check mute. But say that, Bennett, that's a good point. Say that again.
Okay, I'm sorry. Brent, I just wanted to make sure that, we do these services for free. So is there anyone in your audience that needs help? It's not just clients. We do, non-clients, clients, anyone that needs the assistance, we sit down with them. So we're willing, if they want to just give me a call, we can set up an appointment, and we're happy to help.
Yeah, I think that speaks volume, whether they're a client or not a client. Hopefully you can educate somebody, get them down a path. And I think I always use the expression, it sounds like, Bennett, you might be that guy. And your, pun on words is everybody needs a guy, a pool guy, a handyman guy, like they need a guy, knowing somebody in banking, having that guy that you can call. And it's, I made a call to someone, the other day that I know about. It was just as simple as like, hey, if I wanted to go buy this, what would it take? People need that relationship, to where it's not hey, come sit down and fill out a whole application. We're just going to tell you whether you've got it or not. It's to be able to sit down with someone and say, I'm thinking of this. Does this make sense to you? This is what it is. You guys do this day in and day out with money and to have a relationship where it could save you a lot of time. You could go through a whole process and go to a big corporate bank and they can say, fill out an app and we'll get back with you and we'll tell you. And they're just going to give you a yes or a no in a form letter where maybe it is a no, unfortunately, that somebody can't do it, but you're able to explain why it was a no. This is what happened. And if you want to turn that no into a yes, these are the things that I need you to do.
Yep.
And then it's just a time and discipline problem. You can do it. If you want to go buy that multifamily home, that car, that, home yourself or investment property, don't just get a yes or a no on an app. Get a guy, get a banker, get somebody that can help you walk through that process to where maybe they get you to a yes, faster, but maybe it's, like I said, maybe it's a no. But you're not going to get that from a big corporate bank. They're not going to sit down and explain to you, here's what you really need to do. Here's the problem, your debt income. You need to offset this, maybe. And I've learned over the years, some of this stuff, and they, you can kind of just touch it for a little bit so people will know some of the tactical stuff. Gary mentioned it a little bit, there's little things that levers get pulled on, debt to income, where it could be, it's like, hey, if you just, pay this thing off, it's $2,500. I'm making up a number. I don't know. But like that little bit of a change could materially make a change, on whether there's a loan or not. Correct?
Yes, it can. Right. So all of it, is based on percentages, and what folks want to do, even on credit cards, you only want to have 30% of your line that you're using. If you're using more than that, then your score's impacted. But if you do keep it 30% or under, you're going to be getting positive points for your credit score. It's just a simple example. Longer you hold on to credit, that's great. 15% of that 100% is based on how long you've kept something and how well you've paid on it. So those type of points are really easy, and it's easy for someone to see when you put that pie chart up and show these 5 components that make a credit score. And
I think it's worth, and I don't know enough of what I'm about to say to be educated. You can probably tell the difference. A lot of people, if you haven't checked recently, I believe it was maybe a year or 2 years ago, they made some major changes to where, was it like some medical debt and, some taxes and those kind of things that used to be on the credit score. They're gone now.
Right. Judgments, levies, liens, all those things. A lot of that has changed. Medical debt, because a lot of times people had paid the debt or the insurance company had paid it and it wasn't listed. And sometimes the doctor's office too soon submits things into collections, So, and as a bank, we look at it a little different than other types of debt too. So you're correct. But they did change rules on levies, liens, and those types of different things that were really anchors to some people on some of their debt.
Yeah, so I bring it up for anybody who didn't know. Hopefully, it's give you guys a call, and talk about it to where you might have thought, this is, I'm a lost cause. Maybe not. Maybe all this stuff has fallen off, and maybe what you just need is a little bit of some payment history and utilize things the right way. But here's the thing, even if it takes you a year, to get this done, right?
Right.
Start the clock. If it's going to take a year, it's going to take a year starting now, or it's going to take a year starting in 6 months. If anything, maybe it gets worse if you don't address it. But the last thing, if you can get into, I always advise everybody, I don't think too much sometimes when it comes to like buying a home. I don't put much into it because, for better or worse, in my mind, I'm like, I can always sell it, if I end up not liking it, but I'd rather be paying, for a home than paying rent, somewhere else, or leasing. So if somebody's in that situation, and I think there's so many people, because all you gotta do is drive around our town and everywhere there's, another apartment complex. It's going up, and I'm like, where are all these people coming from? So,
well, I can tell you one of the success stories. We were working with 18 about 4 years ago. We had a group of 18 over in North Shore. These were prisoners that were coming out, and within 2 years, 8 of them we were doing homes for them. So we were able to take, you can imagine some of them have been in prison for 20 years. So they either had no credit score or they had a bad credit score. So we were able to work with them, work with their spouses and their families, and get them to a point where they were actually, they were holding down their job. They were doing all the things they needed to do, and now they were getting a home. So 2 years after getting out of prison, they were getting homes.
Wow. So I guess that's a testament to anybody. If you think you've
Yes.
got it, rough, if you guys can take somebody who's been incarcerated for 20 years, no
Right.
credit, bad credit, and in 2 years turn it around where they're, purchasing a home.
Everybody's
And
dream.
that helps not, there's so much more that goes into that. There's, the emotional, that you're a homeowner, that you've
Right.
now got roots in the community and that you want to help. And I think, to kind of tie this back to some of the beginning, if you hadn't put roots down, somewhere, for lack of better words, you may not be, as likely, you might be paying more in rent. So you don't have money to give, back for, to do these auction items. You may not, feel that this is really where you're going to land, and you're just still kind of floating, trying to figure it out. But I think that home ownership makes a difference. It's
Yeah.
like, this is mine. This is where I'm going to be. This is my community. And I want to help that group, down the street. I want to be able to put back. I want to give back, so much more than just, hey, we repaired a little bit of a credit score and we got a guy and we did a loan and we bought a house. We're altering kind of family trees, we're
Yep.
helping the community, at that point. I think that's a very big deal. It's what we need here.
And one thing to note today, with the rates as low as they are, I have not had one client, and we've done thousands of them, where we didn't lower their apartment rent moving into our home. So the 2% rate, I had a couple that's paying $1,100 for a 2-bedroom, or they're going to be closing on their house. It's going to be $790 a month. So just think, because the other thing we're going to talk about, when we sit down is, I want to make sure you put money in retirement. I want to make sure you're building your emergency fund. And so what this allows you to do is, now we've got this extra money, and we're going to be smart about it. If we've got kids, we want to set up some education funds for them. All of those things, so it's not just that home ownership. It's just, making sure we're preparing them for the future, for their future.
It's funny. My tip that I give everybody, you said emergency funds. I tell everybody, have $1,000 cash somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, not to knock the bank, but I tell everybody, don't have it in the bank. Don't have it where you can touch it. I tell, put it in a Ziploc, and then put it in another Ziploc filled with water and put it in the freezer. So it's frozen in a block of ice, so you don't go get anything. But really, that's, my joke, behind it is so they can't get to it. But what real problems, there's an old quote or saying, the real problems in life hit you at some idle Tuesday, at 2 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Most, not everything, and I'm by no means saying everything, but like $1,000 can save or solve a lot of, that's the tire that blew out,
Yep.
fixed. That's the, there's a medical emergency with family on the other side of the country, and you can buy a ticket, to get there. And it can just, to me, I remember the first time I did it, it just lowers that anxiety of, something's about to happen, or the car broke, because, if you don't have that, and, you've got to turn around and put $300 into a tire and another $150 to something else, you can just get so frazzled and, get all over the place, and you're trying to panic, and you're taking off time from work to figure out where you can get it. Now you're losing that much. You're just all over the map. And $1,000 can really, most problems, can be solved, with $1,000. So
Yep.
that's as far as I'm going to go, that's just the depth of my financial coaching. Freeze $1,000 in the freezer, so you can't go spend it fast. So. Well, it was great talking to you. I think this is awesome. I think this is, what our community needs more of this, because like I said, it goes so much further than just writing papers and writing loans, that it helps people, be willing to, give back on things that, Gary's working with on this auction. And I think, that's what it's all about, really, at the end of the day. It's, our community, it's getting up, going to work, it's helping those, because I can't go do what these, nonprofits are doing. And if I was really honest, and I don't want to do a lot of it. It's not, I want to, I don't mean it in a negative way, but that's their passion. That's what they do best. You don't want me doing it.
Right.
So
now, their boards, their executive directors are a key component to all of this, Brandon. I applaud them. Ben and I have sat on literally dozens of nonprofit boards over the years, just like you. And so this is, to me, it's just homecoming. It gives me an opportunity not just to help one or two, it helps literally hundreds of them at the same time. So we'll get the end results toward the end of this month, probably going into mid-September. Kind of be fun to give you a written report, maybe at some point in time, just kind of tell you what was raised overall. But it'll definitely, we continue to hit high marks every year. The nonprofits we listen, hear back from are just thrilled. And that's to us.
Well, and I think
that's the
one
key.
thing that's really important that a lot of people may not know, these nonprofits, it's really important for them, to raise money to do what they do, but also, and I'm going to speak completely out of turn here, but I've, close enough to this that I know these nonprofits are required to have audits every year.
That's right.
And those audits cost money. And without those audits, that nonprofit doesn't exist. So I'm just bringing, I know that, it can be, expensive for some of these groups. And I know that there's some of these groups that have an incredible mission. And some of it may be that, they don't need that much capital to do what they do because they've got a huge volunteer base, or they've got, the means. It's not a capital intensive business, but they need the capital for operational, to where they need to be able to go pay that CPA firm to actually do that audit for them.
Sure.
It'd be horrible, to lose some of these groups because they couldn't get through, I don't want to say a technicality, but a requirement, from a business. And so some of this money may just help them do what they need to do that literally keeps their doors open. So I think that's important for everybody to know as well.
Well, we appreciate the opportunity to get back in front of you, Brandon. So thank you again for the first podcast, for this opportunity. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, our 750 employees, appreciate everything you're doing to help us get the message out. And Bennett, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Absolutely, guys. Well, I appreciate it as well. I know it is time for the workday to really get fired up and moving. I appreciate you guys coming in early. For anybody who didn't realize they're in the branch, you can go look at that stuff.
Yeah.
Over there off of Perkins. If you're here in, town, you can go see it. You can go meet the team over there. And thanks for coming in early. We're early in the morning. The branch isn't really open yet. So that's why we did this. So everybody, let's go to work and let's go have some fun today.
All right, Brandon, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
All right.